Hello, everyone. This podcast is entitled The Problem Solving Process, TBIT and SBIT at Odessa Elementary. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a clear description of the problem solving process here at Odessa Elementary. This will broaden our understanding and build consensus of how we utilize response to intervention, or RTI, and multi-tiered systems of support, MTSS, to meet our students' needs.
This podcast will explain the various steps the team may take during formal problem solving. Specifically, we will explore how TBIT, the teacher-based intervention team, and SBIT, the school-based intervention team, are related. How to prepare and refer a student for problem solving at the SBIT level will be addressed. The steps involved in TBIT and SBIT meetings will also be reviewed. In most cases, the problem-solving process for a student should begin at the TBIT level. TBIT meetings can be used to address concerns for an individual student or a small group of students. At the TBIT meeting, the grade level team will use the Wildcat Achievement Guide, also known as the WAG, to walk you through the problem-solving process. The RTI team members will facilitate the TBIT meeting.
Ultimately, the goal of the TBIT process is to help students be successful. This is done by identifying a specific need or skill for the student or group, developing a hypothesis about why there is a deficit, creating an intervention plan which includes supports at the Tier 1 and Tier 2 levels, and designing a way to monitor the progress of the student or group. The first step of the TBIT process is problem identification. This step requires the team to identify the problem using student and class data. The guiding questions ask the team to compare the student's performance to his or her peers and to the expected benchmark. By answering the questions in step 1, your team will identify the problem, sometimes referred to as the area of concern, skill deficit, or target skill. Guiding questions are included on the WAG to assist the team with the process. They do not require a typed-in response. They are meant to guide your exploration and discussion. The guiding questions for TBIT Step 1 are:
what are the specific concerns for this student or group of students? What would you like this student or group to do? What is the student's current level of performance in the area of concern? What is the peer's level of performance? What is the expected level of performance? Are there gaps in these levels of performance? Once the problem is identified, the team moves on to the next step, problem analysis. The second step of TBIT is problem analysis. In this step, the team explores why the problem is occurring. This step helps the team identify possible reasons why the replacement behavior is not occurring. The team is asked to consider 5 factors represented by the word COIL. C is for curriculum, O is for organization, I is for instruction, L is for learner, and E is for environment. Using one or more of these factors, the team completes the hypothesis and prediction statements on the WAG. The guiding questions for TBIT Step 2 are: what are the most likely reasons this problem is occurring? And what could be changed within COIL to enable the student or students to progress and close the gap?
The third step of TBIT is to develop a comprehensive intervention plan. This information is documented on the WAG. This area of the WAG is used to state your intervention plan in simple terms. This section is not designed to record ongoing progress monitoring. The guiding questions for Step 3 of TBIT are: what interventions should be implemented to address the area of concern? Who will provide the intervention? How often will the intervention occur? When will the intervention begin? What will be used to measure student progress and who is responsible for collecting this information? When will the team follow up? And who will contact the parents?
Step 4 of TBIT is the response to intervention component. This step explores if the intervention is working for the student or group. Specifically, the team will determine if the student's progress is sufficient enough to close the gap. The team will explore the fidelity of the intervention plan and the student's response given the data that was collected.
The guiding questions for Step 4 are: was the intervention implemented as planned? Was the response positive, questionable, or poor? Will you continue, modify, or discontinue the plan? When will you follow up? And who will contact the parent? Once all 4 steps of problem solving have occurred at the TBIT, the team has a decision to make. The team decides whether to continue monitoring the student at the TBIT level or to refer the student to SBIT. If the student's response to the Tier 2 intervention is not sufficient, the team may decide to pursue problem solving at the SBIT level.
If Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports are in place with progress monitoring, and the student is not responding at a rate that is going to close the gap between his and her current performance and that of the peers or benchmark, it would be appropriate for the team to refer the student to SBIT. SBIT is another layer of problem solving geared at meeting the student's needs. Through the SBIT process, the team decides if additional support, also referred to as Tier 3, is appropriate for the student.
SBIT is for students who are performing at the Tier 3 level, which would be the lowest performing 10% of the grade level. To refer a student to SBIT, first email the student's name to the school counselor. The counselor will email you the SBIT checklist. The SBIT checklist is designed as a tool to help you prepare for the SBIT process. You do not need to print out or attach the information to the checklist. Instead, you will use the checklist to determine if you have the information which will be required for the meeting. You will eventually use this information to begin the SBIT board prior to the meeting. It is important to complete the top part of the checklist labeled for initial SBIT and email the form back to the school counselor, as this will be used to schedule your upcoming meeting. The following items are included on the checklist for the initial SBIT:
Diagnostic information and data, FAIR data, TBIT problem solving notes, description of intervention student received or is receiving, meeting with the reading coach if reading is an area of concern, ongoing progress monitoring data, and parent conference notes.
Once the checklist is returned, the school counselor will add the student's name to the SBIT schedule. The school counselor emails the SBIT board to the teacher for completion of page 1. The teacher uses the information from the checklist to fill in the top grade portion of the SBIT board and then emails it back prior to the SBIT meeting.
If you refer to your handout, you can see the information that is included on the first page of the SBIT board. In general, it includes descriptive information such as PMP status, if the student has a 504 or IEP, is an English language learner, and or free and reduced lunch, parent input with date, student strengths, student concerns, other background information, previous problem solving that has occurred, if the student is receiving interventions, and student data.
Any and all information included here is very helpful to the team and helps the SBIT meeting flow smoothly. If you have questions or need clarification with this step in the process, Any member of the SBIT Student Services team would be happy to assist you. The SBIT meeting is held to continue the problem-solving process and assist teachers in developing an intervention plan. The SBIT team may consist of, but is not limited to, the classroom teacher, the school counselor, school psychologist, staffing and compliance teacher, school nurse, school social worker, speech and language pathologist, reading coach, behavior specialist, ESC support facilitators, and administration. At the meeting, the team will follow the same problem-solving steps: problem identification, problem analysis, developing intervention plan, and then response to intervention.
At the conclusion of the initial SBIT meeting, an SBIT team member will be assigned to follow up with the teacher and assist in completion of the Revisit SBIT checklist. A tentative revisit date will also be selected at that time. The SBIT checklist is once again emailed to the teacher for completion of the Revisit SBIT portion. Once the teacher determines that he or she has the required information for the revisit, the checklist is emailed back to the school counselor. This should occur prior to the Revisit SBIT meeting. The following items are included on the checklist for the Revisit SBIT:
Ongoing progress monitoring data, intervention documentation logs, parent conference notes, classroom observation. These items do not need to be submitted with the checklist. Instead, they should be brought to the Revisit SBIT meeting by the teacher. At the Revisit SBIT meeting, the team will review the fidelity of the intervention and the student's response to the intervention. The team will decide if the student's response is positive, questionable, or poor, and how to proceed.
If the student is responding positively and at a rate that will close the gap, the team recommends to continue the interventions. If the student's rate of progress is not sufficient, the team has two options. One option is to go back to problem solving and consider modifying the intervention plan. The other option is to consider an evaluation for ESE eligibility. Thank you for joining us as we explore the SBIT and TBIT process. This podcast is not intended to be a comprehensive guide. Rather, it is meant to be a handy reference tool to guide you in the TBIT and SBIT problem-solving process, so that we can better meet all of our students' needs.